Hi, this is Allison Richard, your holistic stress management and self-care coach, and today I want to bring you a practice to focus on the hips. So hopefully this short practice will help to create a little more happy hips and also help you to gain a better understanding of maybe kind of what's creating tension and ways that you can kind of work to shift some patterns so that you have a little bit less tension and tightness to work with. So you are going to start on your back for today, just because when it comes to tight, like low back hips, usually the most relaxing place for us to start, or the easiest place for us to start that's nicest to the back, is going to be reclined. So go ahead and lie down for me and just keep your knees bent with your feet on the floor for just a second so that we can kind of let the back relax. And then while you're here, you could just kind of take your hands onto your lower belly. And then I just want you to start to kind of tuck and tilt your pelvis a little bit. So you're just going to kind of tuck your tailbone, almost like you want to flatten the low back into the floor. So kind of really press it down. And then start to arch your low back and go the opposite direction. So kind of tilting through your pelvis. But I only want you to tilt as far as you can go without also arching your lower back ribs off the floor. So if you're arching and those ribs are coming with you, I want you to relax your front ribs down so that you're kind of still pressing the back ribs into the floor. So you're really focusing that movement basically from your waist to your hips, and that's it. So find whatever your range of motion is in both directions, and you don't have to force it, you don't have to go the complete range. You're just getting a little bit of movement here for a moment. Good. And then see if you can find what you feel like is kind of neutral for you, so halfway between those two. And then just keep your feet about hips distance apart. Take your fingers to your hip bones for a moment in the front. And I want you to make sure those hip bones are kind of parallel to one another. They should be pretty parallel right now. And then you're going to take your right ankle and cross it over your left knee. And then as you do that, I just want you to feel if those hip bones stay parallel or if one kind of hikes up or down in a certain direction. So if you feel like they're no longer parallel, I want you to kind of adjust your pelvis so that they still feel parallel. And then go ahead and flex this right ankle just to protect your ankle and your knee. And then keep those hip bones parallel as you kind of raise that left leg in towards your chest. If this is too much of a stretch, you can always keep that left foot down. If you're raising it up into the chest, you're just going to take your right arm and kind of thread it through that hole that's made by your right leg and your left leg. And you can take that right hand to the back of your left leg, the left hand to the back of your left leg, and just holding here. And so you can kind of bend the elbows, just squeezing those legs in as close as you can without shifting the pelvis out of that parallel space. If your hips are a little bit more open, you can always kind of reach up towards your shin. But I would say do whatever allows you to keep your shoulders kind of relaxed and dropping back towards the mat. So if you feel like you're really reaching and the shoulders are lifting off the floor, go with the version that lets you relax them down a little bit, just so we're not creating more tension in the upper body to get rid of tension in the lower body. So go ahead and just take a deep breath in. Exhale it out. And then if you want, you can either stay here or you can kind of take your weight and rock it over towards your left hip a little bit. So you're just kind of lightly floating that back of the right hip off the floor just a tiny bit. And if that doesn't really feel better to you or add to the stretch, you can just stay where we were centered a moment ago. So go ahead and just take one more deep breath in. And exhale. And then if you shifted, go ahead and kind of bring yourself back to neutral. Take that left foot to the floor. Go ahead and uncross. Take the right foot to the floor. And then I just want you to lift your hips up for a moment just to kind of come to a bridge to neutralize your pelvis between sides and then lower back down. And then again, if you need to, keep those fingers on the hip bones just so you make sure they're parallel. Cross the left ankle over the right knee. Flex that left foot. If you're picking up that right foot, go ahead and draw the right leg in. Again, left arm's going to go in that hole made between the legs. Right hand to the outside, either behind the back of the thigh or the shin. So you may find that this side is tighter or looser than the other side. So you may not be holding in exactly the same place, and that's fine. Keep this left foot flexed, but also notice what's happening with your right shin and your right foot. So a lot of times our legs want to do the same thing. So you might find that your right foot's flexed and that right leg's kind of lifted up. Relax the right shin a little bit, relax that ankle, and then keep that left foot flexed. Good, go ahead and just take a deep breath in. Exhale, side out. Again, if you want, either stay centered or kind of rock that weight over to the right hip a little bit, float that left hip off the floor slightly. And just taking a deep breath in, exhaling, and then taking the weight back to center, right foot to the floor. Go ahead and uncross again, both feet down. Lift those hips just to neutralize your pelvis, and then lower back down. And this time, walk your feet maybe as wide apart, if you're on a mat, as wide apart as your mat, but just slightly wider than your hips. Keep your feet parallel, so all 10 of your toes are still going to point forward, and then you're just going to let both knees fall over to one side, so you're kind of rolling to the sides of the feet. And then as you inhale, bring the knees back up, so just pressing down through the soles of the feet. And then as you exhale, let the knees fall in the other direction. And then just go back and forth from side to side. So you can, if you want, inhale in one direction, exhale to the other. But just really feeling where the leg plugs into the hip on either side and feeling that rotation of the leg in the hip joint, if you can. And then just go ahead and do one more time to each side. And then bring your knees back to center, walk your feet back towards one another, and then you can just roll over to one side, and then press yourself up. You're gonna come up towards sitting for me. Once you're there, so if your hips actually happen to be really tight and it's hard for you to kind of sit up tall, as you sit here, you can always prop yourself up on a block or a pillow or a blanket, kind of a folded blanket, so whatever is gonna work for you, to feel like you can actually kind of sit up tall for a moment. And then I want you to kind of cross your legs at the center of your shins. So almost imagine trying to walk your feet over underneath the opposite knee for a second. This is gonna make it a little more uncomfortable, but I want you to, same way you were flexing that foot when you crossed over, I want you to try to flex your ankles, which is gonna mean kind of draw the pinky toe sides back. You're gonna want the soles of your feet to point out towards the sides of the room. So a lot of times if our hips are tight, we try to compensate in the knees or the ankles. So you might find that the feet relax and the soles of the feet kind of point up towards the ceiling. All that means is when you're sitting in this position, you're basically stretching your ankles, not so much your hips. So if you flex those ankles, relax the thighs as much as you can with the feet flexed, then you're gonna make sure whatever stretch we get is gonna come from your hips. So take your hands to the sides of your hips, just kind of walk them out parallel to your hips, and then go ahead and start to fold forward only as far as you can go with your spine long for now. Push into those fingers, kind of lengthen through the spine. Just take a deep breath in, exhale, and then if you want, you can start to walk your hands forward. I would say keep them wide, just because then you get to keep spreading across your collarbones, your chest gets to stay open, spine gets to stay long. Let's take one more deep breath here, and then let it go. And then walk your hands back, just come all the way up, and then you're just gonna switch sides. So whichever leg is crossed in front, just go ahead and take the other one in front. Same rules apply, so cross at the center of your shins, go ahead and flex those ankles as much as you can. Relax the inner thighs. Again, you can stay propped on your support if you need to be lifted just a little bit to sit taller. And then hands to your sides. See if you can grow taller through your spine. So think about lifting from the low back all the way up the length of the spine. And then when you're ready, next exhale, go ahead and fold forward. Once you've gone as far as you can go, if you want, you can walk those hands around. But just kind of relax the shoulders, maybe give the head a little bit movement from side to side. Always good to give the neck some love, even if we're focused on the hips for today. Take one more deep breath in. One more exhale. And then walk your hands back. Go ahead and come all the way up. And then you can uncross, just extend your legs out, kind of shake them out for a moment. So you can kind of shake them up and down, side to side. Again, feel that rotation. And then you're gonna bend both knees. Go ahead and bring your feet over to your left side for a moment. So this kind of left leg, your knee is gonna be bent. You can either have this heel really close to your bottom, or if the knee's sensitive out, you can move it a little further away. And then just kind of feel if this left hip is close to the floor, on the floor, maybe floating a little bit away, but fairly close. Stay where you are. If this hip is really far off the floor and it's really kind of floating in space, take your pillow or your block or your prop and you're gonna put it underneath just this right side. Basically, you're gonna lift your right side up so that it's kind of even with your left. So you decide what you need to do for you. You're gonna flex both ankles again for a moment. Again, you're just protecting the ankles and the knees. And then take that right arm out to your side. Go ahead and rotate that left palm. So you're gonna point that hand out to the side. As you inhale, sweep that arm all the way up. And then as you exhale, you can just go ahead and side bend. Push into that right hand. So you're really kind of pressing that left hip back to the floor. And then just take a deep breath in. And then exhale. Good. As you inhale, come all the way back up. Go ahead and release both arms down. You're gonna keep your legs on this side. You're gonna switch the position a little bit. So take this back left leg. You're gonna think a 90-degree angle with both legs. So you're gonna see if you can pull this left leg back, so almost so your knee is in line with that hip, and then open that foot so your foot's right behind your knee. So this can be like a really far opening, especially if you're really tight at the top of this IT band, this TFL. It can be really, really hard on and can almost make this cramp a little bit. So if this is too far back, bring it forward a little bit. So decide what's okay for you. And then you're gonna bring this front leg in a little bit. So again, you want your knee right in front of your hip, and then that shin's gonna be parallel to maybe front of your mat or wherever you're sitting. Keep both ankles flexed. You're gonna sit this left hip down as much as you can or need to. Again, if you need to be on a block on this right side, you can do that, or you can take it out if you were using it for the last one. Take your hands onto either side of this front leg. So try to evenly press through both hips as much as you can. I'm sure there's not as much weight in this back one, but just think equal weight. Sit up as tall as you can. Take a big breath in, and then exhale. Good, and you can either just stay here with your spine long, sit upright. If this is enough of a stretch for the hips, just hang out here for a second. Or if you want, you can kind of start to walk the hands forward and just kind of folding over this front leg. Make sure you're still rooting through this back hip, so you're not letting this hip lift up to get your torso forward. Just go ahead and give yourself one more deep breath in. And then let it go. Walk your hands back if you're folded forward, just lifting up. And then go ahead and use your hands to help unwind you in whatever way you need to use the hands to just kind of bring the legs back around to the front. Again, you can shake them out. You can kind of take them from side to side. Just move them in whatever way feels good for a moment. And then when you're ready, you're going to bend the knees, take your feet over to your right side this time. And then again, just kind of centering through your hips. So start with them kind of more bent, that first position. So either back foot's gonna be really close to your hip, that right foot, or you can move it out to the side. Flex that ankle, flex both ankles actually. And then keep pushing down through that right hip as much as you can. So just keep it anchored. If you need to prop this left side again, if this right side is kind of really floating away from the floor, prop the left. It seems counterintuitive, but you're gonna do the other side, not the side that's not touching. And then once you're there, take that left hand parallel to the side of your body. Right hand's gonna come parallel. Rotate that right arm so palm out. Go ahead and inhale, reach that arm all the way up. Then as you exhale, just start to side bend. So think about lifting that right side of your waist out of your hip, reaching away. Push that left hand in so you're still anchoring that hip to the floor. And again, you might find this side is tighter or looser than the other side. It might be much closer to the floor, much further away. Totally normal, totally fine. Just good to be aware of. Go and take one more inhale. One more exhale. Bring yourself all the way back up. Take those arms down, and then again, we're just going to adjust the legs a little bit, so that 90-90 position. So pull that right leg back. If you can, knee in line with the hip. Ankle's going to be right behind the knee. If that's, again, pinching a little too much through this outer upper hip, you can bring it in, bring it forward. Take the front leg, knee in front of the hip, shin parallel. Flex both feet again. Just keep protecting those knees and ankles. Take the hands again to either side of that front leg. Keep rooting through that right hip as much as you can. Take an inhale. Again, grow through the back of the body. Kind of grow through the spine. As you exhale, either choose whether you want to stay upright, stay here, or you could walk those hands forward, but just, again, keep the hips rooted. Going forward is not the goal, it's not the destination. So just being wherever it really works best for your hips for today. Go and take one more deep breath in. One more exhale. If you're folded, go ahead and walk the hands back. Use those hands to help you unwind the legs. Just give them a little shake out for a moment. Wiggle the hips. Hopefully they feel a little bit happier. And then come to sit however you're comfortable, if that's legs crossed or whatever feels best to you. Bring your palms together at your heart. Thumbs to your sternum, to the center of your chest, just connecting your hands and your heart. Relax your chin towards your chest, your head to that wisdom of your heart. For a moment, just take a second to give yourself gratitude for choosing to take care of yourself in this particular way today. Giving gratitude to your body for all that it does and allows you to experience each day. And giving gratitude for that wisdom and guidance that comes from the heart. Just take one more deep breath in. Sigh it out, let it go. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for today. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And have a great, happy hip day.